Now, Chuck, big news. It's official. Brenden Aaronson is heading to Leeds United States of America. That's what I think they should rename their team. And I'm excited about it. One thing I want to say is, because there's a lot of haters out there. We hire Jesse Marsch and then they're gonna go sign Americans. Listen, Marcelo Bielsa put in a bid for Brenden Aaronson prior to Jesse Marsch taking over. They put a $20 million bid on him in the January transfer window because Bielsa really appreciated what Brenden Aaronson could bring to the table, especially in his system in particular. High energy, I think, is Bielsa's number one trait that he's looking for in players with obviously a high IQ. I think Brenden Aaronson has both of those as it pertains to the game and how the game should be played. And so I want to make sure that that's out there because this predates, the interest in Brenden Aaronson predates Jesse Marsch. However, it is convenient now that Jesse Marsch did coach him at RB Salzburg. He knows how to get the most out of him. He knows how to put him in a good spot to have success. And Brenden Aaronson's had a lot of success since leaving. Well, even with Philadelphia Union, he left being a Supporter Shield winner and went on to win multiple trophies in Austria and then got RB Salzburg to the Champions League knockout rounds for the first time in their history and played well against some very, very good teams in Europe, Sevilla and Bayern Munich most notably. How much pressure? Let's go back to that. That was like my first question of the whole show, but let's go out. First question coming out of the break, Chuck. How much pressure is on Brenden Aaronson to come flying out of the gates and warrant the type of money they spent on getting him to Leeds?
I think there's a great deal of pressure. I wouldn't say it. I'd say there's more pressure on Jesse Marsch than there is Brenden Aaronson. So that's probably the first take is when you spend that much money, I know Leeds wanted him before, but when you spend that much money on a player, that's on the coach. He wants that player because he thinks that player is going to make the group better. It's going to allow them to get better results. And in looking in how Leeds play, I think Brenden Aaronson is going to be the 10 for this team. And Rodrigo and him are the 10, and Rodrigo's 31 years old and Brenden Aaronson's 21. So there's a 10-year gap there. And
do you think Rafinha's on the move? It looks like he might be going to Barcelona. There seems to be a lot of smoke there to make that happen. He feels like he's done what he's going to do at Leeds and he wants to make a dream move. And it's hard when a player feels that way.
I don't know if they're going to spend the money it's going to cost to bring Rafinha to.
I don't know how they find any of their money.
Right.
I feel like the real MVPs of Barcelona are their accountants because I don't know how they figure it all out. But keep going.
I mean, yeah. He's not going to play over Rafinha. And so Rafinha is playing on the right, 11 goals, 3 assists. That's your one player who's not going anywhere. Jack Harrison has done a pretty good job. I mean,
yeah, he has.
You have to be pleased with him if you're a Leeds supporter about his kind of output playing on getting the minutes that he has. So I'd say Rodrigo's probably the guy where Brenden Aaronson would probably get the nod over because Jesse Marsch, which is awesome. If you're a player and the coach is bringing you in, not the sporting director, not the agents, not the fans, the coach who believes in you and is going to give you an opportunity to succeed, that's great. You're in the best position to start. Mm-hmm. So then
until you don't play well though, like you
right.
have a game where it doesn't work out, and then all of a sudden the guy that has your back, he's got to make decisions it's all results oriented, especially at the highest level in the Premier League. Like you got to get results, baby. And if I just worry that Brenden Aaronson could find himself struggling, and then I mean it's good for him overall because he's gonna have to fight his way through it, and I'm sure that he will. He seems that he has a tremendous attitude for the game, but it's going to be interesting, and I don't think it's going to be all roses. And so I'm kind of curious to see how this all plays out.
No, I feel like no one should expect this to be all roses. The positive, though, as if he does succeed and does really well from the get-go, let's say going into the World Cup, that forces Greg Berhalter's hand, no?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got to be in the starting 11. If you're performing in the English Premier League and you're playing week in, week out, you're a starter on this national team.
Mm-hmm.
You are an absolute starter. So where is that? Because if he's playing the 10 for Leeds and doing really well, he's got to be slotted next to Weston McKennie, right?
Right.
You would assume so.
No, yeah. I agree with you. I'm kind of curious to see how Leeds is going to set up because if they still need help in almost every line as well. I mean, the center backs, they give up so many goals last year. Their outside backs haven't really been that great. Eileen, Firpo, maybe not playing to the levels that I think people know they're capable of. Calvin Phillips might be on the move. Apparently he's Manchester City's number one target this summer after getting Erling Haaland. That would be a big loss for them. And then Patrick Bamford's got to get healthy. What's the deal with Rafinha? I mean, there's a lot of questions around this team. There's plenty of talent for them to go put it all together, and they're going to have a proper offseason to make it work. But I wonder where Brenden Aaronson's going to fit into that. Because, though, of all the things you said, he's going to get a chance, and he's probably going to get a chance right from the get-go. So I hope he takes it with both hands. But as it pertains to the U.S. men's national team, if he's playing in the number 10 spot, I think Musa would be the guy that goes for sure. But then I think McKennie has to play a little bit different. I think he's got to be a little bit more conservative, because if Musa's playing, I think McKennie has more license to roam forward. But if Brenden Aaronson is playing, then I wonder if that freedom is going to be given to Brenden Aaronson, and McKennie's has got to do a little bit better of a job of picking his spots. But that's what we love about McKennie, because he is so unpredictable when he goes and when he stays. I don't want him to lose that or feel handcuffed in any way. But I also don't want Tyler Adams to be overrun in midfield, especially if we're playing against a team that can keep the ball.
He's just going to be box to box. And there's probably going to be a little bit more of an emphasis on the defensive part, at least your starting position. Not so much, okay, you got to be right next to Tyler Adams and you have to stay here. But I think just from a tactical standpoint, maybe he starts a little bit deeper and then moves forward, which maybe plays right into his wheelhouse, because the game's in front of him and he can anticipate things from that position. Once he wins the ball in transition, go ahead. You have he makes great late runs into the box out of midfield. So I don't expect his game to change at all. Maybe just seeing the game and playing defensively as far as like the press, being in tune with the team. And against England, they're all going to drop deeper. So
right.
I think it's about the first game and in Iran being in the right spots, being a little bit higher up the field, because we got to take chances, I'm sure, because we got to score first, and then we just got to keep possession to make sure that they're not able to create chances.
What I do like about Brenden Aaronson in midfield as opposed to out on the wing is that I feel like, and Christian's very good at this as well, of when they pick up the ball, can they break the lines with their running? I feel like that unlocks a lot of things, especially for you as a number 9, Charlie. If all of a sudden you have a midfielder that broke the line and now you can run off of the shoulder of a center back in a way that you couldn't before. It's not like your back's to goal. Now you actually can peel off, curl your run, and look for those little through balls. If you feel like you're in a position to set up and give him an angle to play a little 1-2, or you could be the wall and he could play it back to him, or you can, in a little in, back, and through, then that's great too. But at least you have a couple options. Sometimes things get so predictable if we're trying to pass through everything. But what I like about Brenden and Christian is that they're both very good. And Eunice Smith is good too. Breaking those lines, I guess a lot of our midfielders are, breaking those lines with the ball. But we need to do that consistently, because I feel like we struggle, and a lot of teams I see struggle at all levels, when they're trying to always pass out of situations. And if you don't have players that give you a little bit more of a dynamic alternative to get out of certain things, to spin out of tight spaces, it allows us to have that unpredictability for the opponents, obviously not for us.
Preach.
So I feel like there's something about Brenden Aaronson in that space that I would like to see. Now, again, it gets us back to what do we want out of these June windows, and will we see Brenden Aaronson in that number 10? I think it's worth trying, especially if that's where he's going to be posting up for Leeds.
I'm getting sick to my stomach thinking about it. I'm getting sick to my stomach thinking about all the possible options and who could play where. And this is the difficult part for a coach, because you've gotten to this point with a certain method, certain tactics and formations. Then you maybe have some injuries, players coming out of form, players coming into form that necessarily don't fit the same tactics and the same type of approach that you had coming into World Cup qualifying. So you get through World Cup qualifying, you're saying, okay, I got everything set. But now if things change quite a bit, you might be forced to change your approach of a 4-3-3. Instead of 1-6 and 2 8s, maybe it's 2 6s and 1 10, or a 6, an 8, and a 10. So, you were playing heavily inverted wingers. Maybe it's both are just going straight down now and not so much inverter. One comes inverted, one is relying to create the width on the right side. So there's a lot of question marks. I think striker, for me, the biggest ones are striker and the center back, figuring that out. And I think,
everything else will fall into place.
100%.